In the news tonight, people line up for food rations. GPs ready to assist Health Ministry. And North vaccination round 1 complete.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Pulawinaka, Fiji. A food ration distribution team had to be pulled out from Dombati Nasinu earlier today as people started lining up for food packs. Ministry for Economy Coordinator Kamal Gounder says those who came out were not all part and did not heed advice that deliveries will be made to each household on the list. Gounder adds they will be returning to the area later tonight to distribute under strict measures.
We will be discussing this with Fiji Police Force, whether we could take a few officers either this evening or tomorrow morning to go back to these areas to deliver the ration packs.
Gounder says this is one of the issues causing delays in ration distribution to certain areas within the Suva Nosuri lockdown area. Close to 20,000 requests have been received so far through the *161# food ration helpline. Ministry for Economy Coordinator Kamal Gounder told FBC News that 5,000 ration packs were mobilized yesterday, but they're now looking into the amount actually distributed. Kelly Vadala reports.
The ration distribution continued this morning after requests received were properly analyzed.
Today we are looking at around close to another 5,000 ration packs that has gone out, but we are all, because this also includes the leftovers from yesterday also, because the teams weren't able to distribute the full list of rations yesterday because they had to finish off at 10:30 p.m.
It was again found that families from one household were trying to cheat the system.
So the team had to delete all those repetitions before the team actually mobilized on the ground.
Kamal Prasad was one of the many who received their rations today.
This means a lot. My wife and I are from Tavua and she came for her medical treatment and we've been stuck here for a month now. We are staying with the family and we requested for the ration because we wanted to contribute to the family here.
Due to the high demand for food rations, the Economy Ministry had to mobilize more resources. As of 7 this morning, trucks were again fully loaded with rations and ready to be deployed to their various zones. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
The Ministry of Health has concluded the COVID-19 vaccination drive for the current batch meant for the targeted population in the Northern Division. The vaccination drive in the north was carried out in Tavyuni, Savu-Savu and Maduata in Vanua Levu. A strategic vaccination rollout plan is currently being formulated for Viti Levu. This given the COVID-19 status and the need to take extreme caution against the rapidly spreading COVID-19 virus. The ministry will make necessary announcements once it is safe to do so. Fiji will continue to receive the COVID-19 vaccines in batches similar to other countries. A handful of private practitioners in the Western Division are providing free or discounted services for people who can't access public health facilities. The Fiji College of General Practitioners and the Ministry of Economy are still in discussions on GPs filling the gap created by the Lautoka Hospital going into lockdown. Christiana Uluwai reports.
More than 30 private general practitioners standing by to assist the Ministry of Health during the second wave of COVID-19.
Close to 30 general practitioners, mainly from the western side.
Council spokesperson Dr. Shakil Sharif says while these talks are underway, some of their members are doing what they can to ensure that people are not deprived of medical services.
Quite a bit of clinics and private practices that have started subsidizing their rates or they've actually become, what can I say, providing some free services. Like Dr. Raju is providing some free services, and I think Dr. Giren is providing some free services from his clinic at the moment.
The Fiji Council of General Practitioners is calling on Fijians to stand united during these trying times.
In 100 years that we have an outbreak as such, it's a global pandemic. If we don't stand united right now, I really don't think there will be any other time that we can be standing united.
Once the arrangements is formalized, the government will foot the bill for Fijians seeking treatment and consultation with GPs in Nandi, Lautoka and Ba. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
The Fiji Police Force will now make recommendations to the Health Ministry to shut down supermarkets that continue disregarding COVID-19 safety protocols. Acting Commissioner of Police Rusiate Tundravu says they will come down hard on supermarkets and customers who fail to comply over the next few days. Details with Josiah Nanunga.
Policing customers lined up outside supermarkets has been a challenge, as there is no regard for the 2-meter distancing requirement.
We have clarified our legal opinion through the Solicitor General's office. So definitely we'll be recommending for closure of business as soon that comes. But I hope that especially supermarket owners will adhere to the protocols that need to be done by them from their part.
Suva Retailers Association President Jitesh Patel is disappointed with some businesses failing to comply despite warnings from relevant authorities.
We have always been recommending to our retailers to follow the rules and regulations that is set up by the Ministry of Health. And most of our retailers are following it to the correct order. And it is for the benefit of all, the retailers and the employees, and for the customers as well.
The acting commissioner says they will closely monitor supermarkets in the Suva-Tunusori corridor, especially with the 4 days lockdown scheduled to be lifted 4 a.m. Wednesday. After being shut down, businesses that fail to comply will be investigated and serious breaches will be referred to court. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
Up ahead, more arrests for curfew breaches. And job stress leads to violence. Welcome back. Alcohol-related arrests top the list of curfew breaches recorded in the last 24 hours. 10 people of Vakambalea in Navua were arrested for drinking alcohol and breaching the health restrictions in place. They were among 30 arrests made over the last 24 hours concerning the COVID-19 restriction as well as breaching the curfew order. The Southern Division recorded 22 cases, 6 in the Western Division, while 2 cases were recorded in the Eastern Division. 4 were arrested in Lami for social gathering, while a 41-year-old woman of Wainandoi was found loitering during curfew hours. 7 people were also found loitering during curfew hours in Rewanga, Nepani and the Namandi area, including 4 juveniles. The Eastern Division recorded 2 cases and the Central and Northern Division did not have any arrests. People in the informal sector are the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Fijians involved in informal work or trade don't have access to services enjoyed by the formal sector. Koroi Tandulala reports the United Nations is exploring ways to assist those in the grey economy.
The informal economy does not have access to life savings, hindering their ability to seek relief during this pandemic.
What we need to do is to find a way to make sure that those who are currently in the informal sector are able to become formalized and to be recognized and become a part of the social protection scheme that countries have.
UN resident coordinator Sanaka Samarasena says it is critical to get these people into the formal sector.
We have seen that it has had an impact on people who have not worked in the formal sector, for example, much worse than those who have steady jobs. That's the medium-term solution, is to ensure that they come into the formal space and that they're actually accounted and they are able to then access the social protections that the state provides.
This assistance is for people living, all the Fijians that are living in Suvarnaswari corridor. So that includes all informal settlements as well.
The United Nations is working with government to explore various ways they can assist those in the informal sector to ensure they too are well looked after during this pandemic. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Center has been receiving several calls on its men's referral line, with some experiencing trauma caused by COVID-19 related job losses. Center coordinator Shamima Ali says trauma at times is also associated with aggression and violent behavior. Kritika Kumar reports.
The inability of men to provide for their families under these circumstances affects their sense of masculinity and can sometimes manifest into violence.
They bottle it up. They bottle it up, and often it comes out, their frustration comes out in the form of violence and abusive language and ill treatment of people who are in the house.
Ali says people need to understand that this is happening globally and they need to discuss it openly to relieve their stress and anxiety.
So all the issues around food, losing their jobs, pay cuts, not knowing the future, and things like that. And, and they get angry with their wives and children.
Mental health specialist Prem Singh says joblessness is one factor that severely affects people's mental well-being.
As a mental health specialist, I would like to emphasize that it is very important for adults to remember that your children look up to you for guidance on how to react to stressful events.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that no one is spared from the social impacts of this situation. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Establishing a roadmap to ensure all Fijians have access to secure, safe and nutritious food over the next decade is critical. Permanent Secretary for Fisheries Penem Balai Nambuli highlighted this during the virtual National Food Systems Dialogue. Balai Nambuli says this needs to start with the elimination of wasteful patterns of food consumption. He adds this will require a transition towards diets which are healthier and more nature positive, economically equitable and socially just. The United Nations Food Systems Summit also provides solution-based approaches on how Fiji can manage its exclusive economic zone to provide for our socio-economic needs. The PS says this will also help address non-communicable diseases which are a serious health threat. Coming up, Good Samaritans take in stranded family. Welcome back. Before we proceed with world news, just a quick update. We have information from the Ministry of Health. There are 2 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the last 24 hours. One is the husband of case number 159 from Vunimono and the other a health worker from the isolation facility in Doloisuva. 2 positive patients have been moved into intensive care. For full details on this, you can log on to our FBC News website where we have full coverage. Moving on, as tensions continue to escalate between Israel and Palestinians, international leaders are calling for an immediate end to the attacks that have pummeled the region for a week. The death toll in Gaza is now 197, and Israel has vowed to continue with full force. Australia is sticking to plans to start reopening to the rest of the world only from the middle of next year. Officials are resisting mounting pressure to end the closure of international borders. India remains the world's COVID hotspot, with daily deaths still topping 4,000. A lack of vaccine is fueling anger against the government and its leader. And we now join Koroi for tonight's business report.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up, FNPF relief extended and confusion over Gander shipping operations. Stay with us. The Fiji National Provident Fund has extended the lockdown relief for members to the end of the month. Acting Chief Executive Viliame Vondonaivalu says the extension of the containment period has led to the extension of the relief, which was to close today. Vondonaivalu says the extension will allow members to submit their application. He adds more than 14,600 members have accessed this relief and have been paid $3.1 million. The acting chief executive says more than $631,000 was paid by government and $2.5 million by the fund. Vondonaivalu says members would only qualify if they are not accessing any other FNPF COVID-19 relief. The FNPF short code 5857 is also going live from tomorrow, whereby members can call for FNPF inquiries. The owners of Gander Shipping Limited says the inter-island business is here to stay. A post on the company's Facebook page last night claimed it was closing down, alleging double standards by the Ministry of Transport and Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji. Company director George Gander this morning told FBC News that he was surprised to see the post on Facebook claiming their account was hacked.
Now it's gone to Facebook. The hackers from abroad now, but it's happened to me not the first time. It's about 3 or 4 times now.
FBC News reached out to Gander last night on the same issue, only to be told he has no comments to make and to speak with the authorities. And here are the exchange rates as said early this morning. The Fiji dollar was pegged higher against the Chinese yuan, the US dollar and the Japanese yen. It fell against all other major currencies. And onto the commodities market, prices were mixed. Crude oil rose just by over $2 to end at $65 a barrel. Gold saw a notable jump to $1,851 per ounce, and silver remained steady at $27.73 per ounce. The Fiji Roads Authority is carrying out roadwork on Transinsular Road in Savu-Savu. Acting Chief Executive Kamal Prasad says they are carrying out rip and remake work ongoing from Nganilo Park to Courthouse. The authority plans to attend to all the deteriorated sections of the road from Urata Village to Town and Lesia-Deva Road. Prasad says they intend to complete the work within the next 6 months before the next rainy season. And that's it from Business Tonight. Caroline Itavi joins you next with the latest in sports.
Good evening, and in sports tonight, venues confirmed for tests. And no more qualifiers for national swimmers. This and more coming up. The venues for the 2 tests between the Flying Fijians and the All Blacks are now confirmed. This follows the official word from Fiji Rugby Union today after doubts the national side would be unavailable for the matches. History is in the making, as this would be the first time Fiji plays back-to-back tests against the 3-time world champions. Aquila Dama has the details. The last opportunity for 8 local swimmers to qualify for the Olympic Games on merit has slipped through their hands. They were to compete in the annual Open Championship this weekend, but due to the current COVID safety restrictions, the event has been shelved, and along with it, their final chance at qualifiers. However, there could still be hope for 2 swimmers.
Fiji Swimming will now be looking at selecting the top 2 swimmers with the highest points to FINA by Monday to represent Fiji at the Tokyo Games.
We're supposed to have that championship this week. Yeah, and because of these current lockdowns, it's highly likely it will not happen. So this is why I said again, we have communicated with Team Fiji. We have to keep them notified of what we're doing.
If the 2 swimmers do meet the requirements set in place by FINA, the final decision will be made by Team Fiji and Fesanok.
Selection is a preliminary selection. It won't be finalized until after the selection justification committee for Team Fiji and Fesanok will go through. There's a timeline for that, and that's sometime around in June.
For one of the likely prospects, Taichi Vakasama, getting a spot at the Olympic has always been a lifelong dream.
Last Olympics I was underage, so able to be part of the Olympic squad, not even considered. And so ever since then I had been aiming for this Olympics. So for the past 4 years, this was definitely the long-term goal.
The 2 swimmers will be leaving Fiji on the 8th of July together with other Team Fiji athletes to Tokyo, Japan.
Fiji Bati winger Mikaele Ravalao scored a hat-trick in the NRL Magic Round, but his efforts were not enough for the Dragons as they went down 18-44 to defending champions the Storm. Brazilian goalkeeper Alisson scored an incredible injury time winner as Liverpool beat West Brom 2-1 this morning to keep its Premier League top 4 hopes alive. It is the first occasion in which a goalkeeper has scored a competitive goal for Liverpool in their entire history, dating back to 1882. In today's play of the day, Fijian Wallabies winger Marika Korimbete put in a brutal hit on Blues and All Blacks front rower Nepo Laulala during Saturday's Super Rugby Trans-Tasman clash in Melbourne. Check it out. That's it from Sports Tonight. Coming up, Queen Elizabeth has her own brewery. Find out more in Weird and the Wonderful after the break.
Cloudy conditions with brief showers were experienced over the eastern parts of the larger islands today. In the west, fine apart from possible afternoon showers, and from Pacific Harbour to Suva, mostly fine conditions prevail today. And in the north, more sunny weather with a chance of rain in Sabu Sabu in the evening. At sea, an easterly wind flow prevails over Fiji waters. Easterly winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. The next high tide is at 10:50 tonight, with the next low tide at 4:31 a.m. tomorrow. Sunrise is at 6:28. The outlook for tomorrow: more cloudy conditions can be expected over the entire Fiji group. And the outlook for Wednesday: cloudy periods with a few showers over the eastern parts and the interior of the larger islands, cloudy periods with possible isolated afternoon showers elsewhere. And in the world of the weird and the wonderful tonight, Queen Elizabeth has her own royal family approved beer. She is not brewing it herself, but one of her estates has launched the new drink. Recapping our main stories: 2 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the last 24 hours, and 2 current cases are now in intensive care, and food rations continue in the lockdown areas. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, last week we asked, has the extended school break resulted in more screen time for students? 79% answered yes. This week we are asking, has the Suva Nosori curfew helped contain COVID-19? Visit our FBC News website to answer. And remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos by email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.